Okay, so good morning, everybody, to the assembly. I'm glad you could get here early in the morning, but we've got really great sessions and you're able to jump from session to session. There are 3 tracks. So you're on track 2 right now. We're going to start with the successful club meetings with Ted, a club trainer with Roz, and then at 11 o'clock, club administration with Joanne Laird. And then hopefully we'll have a 5-minute break in between, but we want to make sure that we cover all of the questions that you might have. So let's see, introductions. Of course, we've got to go, there's a protocol, so the first person to be introduced is Roz Cooper, PDG. Okay, and then Laura, PDG. Okay, and oh, sorry, Ted, I think you go first, right? So Ted is the district governor nominee. So meaning he's going to be the district governor in 24, July 1st. Okay, so I'm Naomi Masuno. I'm your host today, and we are going to start with Ted.
Good morning. As you joined, it probably looked like you joined the Karaoke 101 session, but this is Successful Club Meetings. And if you thought that Successful Club Meeting session today was going to be me presenting a bunch of slides to give you the answers, you're going to be surprised because what makes a successful club meeting is what works for your club. So we're going to have a very interactive discussion this morning. And I, of course, have some experiences and some ideas to share as part of our discussion, but really looking for your ideas and experiences and what questions you have about what makes a successful club meeting. Before we jump into our discussion, we introduced the district leaders, but can we just go through and have everybody say their name and your role for the coming year and your club, please? How about we start with Jerry?
Morning, I'm Jerry. I'm president-elect at Honolulu Sunrise.
And Vern?
Aloha, I'm Vern Lowry, president-elect for Rotary Club of Kona Sunrise. So,
And Natasha?
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm with the Rotary Club of Kapolei. I'm secretary and foundation chair this coming year.
Great. And Leah?
Leah Harbottle from Rotary Club of Lahaina Sunrise, vocational service chair.
Welcome. And Anne?
Morning, Ann Niesman from Rotary Club of Lahaina Sunrise.
Welcome. And Cheryl?
Cheryl from East Honolulu. PE.
Okay. And Brian? We're not hearing you, Brian.
yeah. He sent a note that he's having video and mic problems.
Ah, okay. Well, we'll catch up with you when you're able to join in then. And I see Joni is also joining us here. Joni, we were just going around saying our names and our club name and our role for the coming year. Joni, are you there?
I'm here. I'm clicking so many times. I was trying to fix my background. I'm Joni Henderson. I am with the Rotary Club of Kapolei, and I am club president for a second year.
Welcome. And Jan?
Hi, good morning. I'm Jan Pasqua, Rotary Club of Poipu Beach, past president.
Okay. And I see Brian's picture now. Brian,
can you hear me?
Introduce yourself? Yeah, now we hear you.
All right. Aloha from Kailua Kona on the Big Island, president-elect.
Okay. And Cheryl?
Hi, everyone. Oops. Good morning. I'm Cheryl Holcroft, President-elect of the Rotary Club of East Honolulu.
Great. And I see Beth has joined us. Beth, could you introduce yourself, club, and role for the coming year?
Hi, I'm Beth Holben. I'm going to be the club administrator for the coming year. Sorry, I'm driving, so I won't be able to turn on my video.
No worries. Well, thank you all for joining in this morning. If you just joined, I did share with everybody as we were gathering that if you came online this morning expecting me to show you a lot of slides about successful club meetings and give you a bunch of answers, you're going to be surprised because the right answer about successful club meetings is really what works for your club and your environment. So today will be a very interactive discussion. I, of course, bring some experiences and ideas, but I know you all bring lots of experiences and ideas as well. And you may have questions as you think ahead to the coming year and your club about how you can have more effective, more valuable, more fun club meetings. And we'll try to cover some of those topics in the next or so.
I pulled up hotels, so if he talks about a hotel.
Oh, okay, good.
Beth, you might want to mute again. There you go. So some of the topics that I noted for us to try to cover as much as we can this morning. One is around how do we just communicate information about our club meetings, both information to our current members, but also to guests and prospective members. Spend a little time thinking with each other about how does a good club meeting make us feel? What is a good club meeting? What kind of feelings do we walk away with from that? And then hopefully we can talk a little bit about our meeting environments. What's the environment where we're meeting and how does it look? How does it feel? What kind of energy level do we set as we're kicking off a meeting of our members? How do we get a lot of our members to participate? How do we make sure that our meetings are interactive and that lots of our members have a role and are participating and adding to our meetings? And then, of course, a hot topic for us over the last couple of years has been hybrid meetings. So which of us are doing hybrid meetings? What's working? What's not working? What are some best practices that you've seen around hybrid meetings? And what are some of the challenges that we need to continue to work on around hybrid meetings? Hopefully, we'll also be able to talk some about meeting formats and frequency, different types of meetings, formats of meetings, also about speakers, education, and inspiration. Because of course, one of the purposes that we have a meeting is normally to hear a speaker, learn something, or get inspired about something. And then finally, how do we get member feedback about our meetings and suggestions from our members about what they want to see and how they want the meeting experience to be for them. So that's a fairly long list of topics, so we'll work through as many of these as we can, and we'll try to kind of watch the time and keep moving along through here. But let's kick off with communicating about club meetings. So anybody want to share with us either how you currently communicate about club meetings or how you think you ought to be communicating about club meetings?
Ted, I'll start off.
Great, thanks, Joan.
I do a weekly email. So every Sunday, and I send it out on Monday, or I try my best to do that. And it tells what the next few months would be, the meetings, the events, the whatever service projects we're doing. And I try to add in links to they see more about who's speaking. But I don't know that everybody reads it. And so I called somebody yesterday and said, hey, the speaker you recommended is going to be talking next week. Want to make sure that you're okay. And I had other things to talk to him about. Well, he didn't know because he doesn't read my weekly email, and I think half of them don't read it. So I feel like I spend so much time. Why even bother? I'm struggling right now with that.
Uh-huh,
Ideas?
yeah. How about others? Are you doing a weekly, either you or your current president doing a weekly email about your meetings?
I learned something new this last week. And I don't know if the newer people know it or not, but when you send something in Club Runner, you can go into that message and you can go to statistics and you can see who's read it or not. So it really helped me because I was trying to get a committee together and I hadn't heard back from some people, and it showed me who was actually reading the emails or not. And the ones that hadn't, then I was able to track and go ahead and send them a message, or leave a voicemail message for them or something, because we have such an age disparity among our members that everyone kind of has different communication styles right now. So that was kind of a good tool for me to use to solve that problem a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just started using Club Runner. I've resisted it because I just used regular email all these months. So I finally gave up and used it. So I will look at the statistics. And there was a time when I was sending out the email and then I was texting every single person to say, I just sent you an email. It was crazy. So maybe that will help, but I don't know that people really appreciate the email. I just wonder, do they even care? So, thank you though.
Hey, Ted.
Any other? Yeah, Naomi.
Club Runner just added a new feature on their email service. There's now a link to resend the email to those who didn't open it. So they just started that this week or last week.
Right. How about others? Do you do a weekly email about your meetings, or do you have other ways that you're communicating about your meetings?
Hey, Ted.
Yeah. Jen.
Yeah, so when I was president, I was an over communicator, I guess. People said it was too much, but I don't do Instagram, but it seems like a lot of the younger members prefer Instagram. So that might be an avenue. Also having a club app. So then that gives you update. And also for me, I really like to have the schedule on our club calendar, online calendar, really helps me keep track and even see what the upcoming speakers are going to be.
Yeah, so a few good alternatives there. Posting on Instagram and or Facebook. I see some of our clubs, and as Jen mentions, particularly some of our clubs with lots of younger members, will do a post of a month at a glance, and they'll post that on Instagram and cross-post it to Facebook. So you see what's coming up for the month in terms of meetings and service projects. And it's right there with the dates and the topics. So a month at a time on social media, and then follow-ups on social media. Any of you posting meetings on social media, your clubs? I see a lot of blank stares, so that's maybe something to look at.
Do you mean like doing hybrid meetings?
No, this is just posting information. So for example, one that I see do this on a very regular basis is the Eco Club of Kaka'ako. They're very diligent about those kinds of posts on social media.
Ted, I'm going to say yes. We have Arlene, and Arlene's been taking my weekly email and taking out whatever, and she's been great about posting on Instagram. And we have a new member who is young, and she's helping us with all of our media. So we'll get better at that in the near future.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it makes a difference. We'll see.
Uh-huh. But I think Jan also prompted a good point, is that those of us of different generations have different preferred communication tools and styles. So I know some of my millennial friends rarely read an email. They much prefer to receive a text message. So I know with certain individuals, If I really want to communicate with them, I need to send them a text or I need to post it on social media. Certainly I still do the emails. So think about for this coming year, are there other communication tools, other communication methods that you need to be cross-posting information about your meeting? Because different people are going to find it in different ways. Not everybody's going to read that email every week. And also, how if you have a guest or a prospective member who's maybe heard about your club, is interested in your club, how do they today find information about your club and your club meeting? How would they contact you and say, hey, I'm interested, could I come along to one of your club meetings? How would that happen, or how do you think that should happen in your clubs?
Well, I think it's still there, but a few years ago, we found out that you could go, if you're interested in Rotary, you can go to rotary.org and then type in your area, and then it'll bring up the club and the link, and then you can email the club. So there's got to be a dedicated person that gets those emails and responds to the emails. Sometimes it's the president, secretary, but when we found out it was happening, they didn't know about it, and they were ignoring, they just thought they were spam emails. So that's a good thing to look into to see if your club already has something like that set up.
Yeah, how many of you have a contact us button on your website? And do you have somebody who's designated to monitor and answer those messages? Or are you planning that for the coming year? Do you know if you have a contact us button on your website?
Yeah, we do. Actually, on our website, it has somebody's name and my name. And also on the contact us, there's the secretary actually gets it sometimes. So both of us get the messages.
Right. So that's something else you might want to think about is how do people reach out to us? Because there may be people that have heard about Rotary, or maybe they've been in Rotary on the mainland and now they've relocated to Hawaii. They're looking for information about how to get involved with us. How would they find information about your club and your meetings in order to reach out to you and say, hey, I'm interested, I'd like to learn more. So website, social media, having those kinds of things in place. So let's switch topics slightly and talk about the meeting itself. And I'm going to ask you for just a moment to think about a club meeting that you went to that you thought was a really good club meeting. And you walked away from that thinking that was really good. What was it that made you think that was really good? And how did you feel about that club meeting?
I'll speak up.
Yeah,
Being still fairly new to Rotary, what's impressive to me is making sure the meeting starts on time. And then we have a brief session up, introducing people and where they're from, possibly introduce guests. But the one that really stuck with me lately has been a very dynamic speaker on peace that really brought a lot of interaction with everybody that was at the meeting. The ideas and challenges. So a couple things there, I guess, start on time, introduce people, and have a dynamic speaker that causes a lot of interactive discussion.
Great points. Thanks, Vern. Anybody else?
Well, I'll speak up. For me, it's always about the speaker, the club admin stuff. I mean, of course, start on time and finish on time. We've had a little bit of problem with that lately, and it's really uncomfortable for the people that have a hard leave at that time. But one of my favorite ones recently is we had a dermatologist, and being in Hawaii and being, people with skin, we were all checking ourselves out, looking at things, and the information was so practical and so real that it really connected to everybody in the room, young and old. And I think that kind of speaker where you learn something that's really cool about you, not just another development down the road kind of stuff that we hear a lot of. When the speaker connects directly to each person in the room on some level, I think those are the best for me.
Yeah, so we've heard timeliness a couple times now, interaction, relevance, dynamic speaker, good interaction. How about anybody else? Jan?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so I really enjoy having a lot of members involved in actually running the meeting. I've told presidents before that you don't have to be the one to run the meeting. You don't have to introduce the speaker. You don't have to do the pledge of allegiance, happy butts, all that. If you can line people up ahead of time so they know, and then they'll show up because they have a job, and then they feel like part of the club and a part of the meeting. And then the speakers, we used to have interesting speakers, and we still do, but one year when I was president, one of the old-time members called me afterwards. He goes, going to our meeting yesterday, you never would have known it was a Rotary meeting. Really? We had Pledge of Allegiance, we had Happy Bucks, we had a speaker. We did say the four-way test, but other than that, there was no mention of Rotary. So I try to find speakers that are either going to talk about something that's Rotary related, or maybe one of the people that's getting one of our grants or one of the nonprofits that we're helping, and even somebody that's interested in becoming a member that can come and talk about their business or their organization.
Yeah. So lots of member participation during the meeting, and having different members do different things during the meeting. Any other ideas of what was a good meeting? Ann?
Hi, I think for us here in Lahaina, we're pretty lucky because we kind of are our destination spot already. So we do get a lot of visitors coming in. And that's when sometimes there's actually more visitors than members that attend the meeting. But we really like to include them and have them talk about their meetings and what their fundraisers are and their different positions and where they're from. And there's always some kind of connection. I mean, we get people from all over the world visiting. Well, maybe more so, pre-COVID other than now. But, really engaging our visiting members or even just guests, really hits a chord with our members too. And of course it depends on the program and the agenda and all of that, but we like to have them, we give them 5 minutes on the floor, tell us about your club, tell us something we didn't know about your club, tell us about your area. And that kind of makes it more of an inter-engagement type of activity that makes it fun for our members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so engage guests and visitors. Any other thoughts about what made a good club meeting that you've experienced?
This is Beth.
Yeah, Beth.
Yeah, we attend a lot of meetings outside of Hawaii. Arizona is one of them. And in Arizona, we've attended multiple meetings. I remember one meeting, they have a large, I think like 120 people attend that meeting. It was a lunch meeting. And they had something called the Ambassador Committee. So the Ambassador Committee, there was one person that met us. They visited Hawaii. And so they welcomed us and we sat at their table. And during the meeting, we were introduced, of course, coming from Hawaii, you know, they're always excited about what's happening. This is pre-COVID, and we just felt so welcome. Then another meeting we attended, another club, what they do is they have you sit in a table. They're so welcoming. So of course, when they find out you're Hawaii and we bring macadamia nuts and chocolates, you know, we become so popular. So we sit at a table and everybody wants to come and talk to us. Oh, what's going on in Hawaii? And they give us 2 minutes to talk about what's happening in Rotary in Hawaii, talk about one of our service projects. And that makes us really feel like we're part of that club. And we've gone back to the club several times.
Great, thanks, Beth. So making your club welcoming, have somebody designated to greet members and visitors at the beginning as they're gathering. For visitors, making sure they get introduced to other people, that they're invited to sit at a table with some group of your existing members. Asking your own members and your visitors to participate, say something during the meeting, talk about something. All good points. Anybody else want to add anything that we haven't covered yet? Okay, let's move on then to meeting environment, and welcome to those of you who joined us in the last few minutes. We're talking through some elements of successful club meetings and what some of those elements are and how they make us feel, and trying to share some ideas and best practices with each other of how we can improve our meetings for the coming year in Rotary. So let's turn on to the meeting environment. How is your meeting space set up? What does it look like to a prospective member? If you've got a new person coming to your club who hasn't been there before, what does your meeting environment look like? Does it look modern and up to date and in sync with the times, or does it look old-fashioned? Are there other things besides what Beth talked about? Are there other things that you do in your clubs to specifically welcome guests and prospective members and your existing members to the club meeting? That's sort of two questions together there, but anybody willing to share on either of those topics? Meeting environment and yeah, Laura.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, sorry, and I am with the Rotary Club of East Honolulu, and I am going to be Cheryl's club administrator next year. Right. So we meet at, it's a modern environment. We meet in the sports lounge at Dave and Buster's. Our biggest problem is the fact that we are having trouble getting more than, we have anywhere from 4 to a maximum of 10 people actually attend our meeting. So then that makes people hesitant to invite guests and hesitant to schedule speakers. So it's one of those kind of self-perpetuating, you know, we'll have sometimes another 2 to 8 on Zoom, but you never know on the Zoom people who is going to join. So, you know, one of the things we're going to have to figure out is how is it that we actually get our members to attend our meetings so that we can then make them exciting and interesting, and maybe we make them exciting and interesting, and then if we build it, they will come. But that's really one of our big issues that we're facing right now. But the environment itself is it is cool and modern. It's just not East Honolulu, so we're trying to get back out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Vern Lowry again. We meet at Papakona Restaurant that's right on the bay. So we're fortunate we can go up and have a nice location over the bay, open air. Challenge we have is the noise of the waves crashing periodically. So we clearly have to have a PA system that works for that. We also have challenges with parking. They've pretty well everywhere you go downtown Kona is paid parking at outrageous rates. So we tried to work an arrangement with the church across the way to have people park. But those two have been our biggest challenges, but once people get there, they love it. So it's just the challenge of parking, getting there, and making sure you have a good PA.
Right. Yeah, good sound is a challenge for some of our venues, making sure people can hear clearly. How about in terms of welcoming people to the meeting? Do you do a designated greeter for your meeting? Do you have other ways of welcoming people in? Anybody do greeters? Natasha?
Yes, we have greeters in our club, and it's a good position to have because, you know, it makes the guests feel welcome and opens up conversation, you know, so yeah, we just started that again, so it's going well.
You have to have the right person, and the person that is in our club and that's doing that, she is just wonderful. She makes these candy lays on her own, and she'll give them to the new person or to the speaker, and she is an embodiment of a greeter. So you really do need the right person in that position.
Mm-hmm. Any other clubs?
I can jump in for Lahaina Sunrise. So we meet in a historic building. It's actually built in the 1800s. It was the Pioneer Inn, and it's right on the Lahaina Wharf, the harbor. So it's a beautiful place, but it's I would say the opposite of modern. We deal with some interesting sound challenges, one being the world's loudest parrot that's generally kept right next to our meeting. So, and then traffic noise, the sound of the waves, and every once in a while a car alarm. But it's kind of funny. We just, at this point, we just make a joke out of it. So, you know, if there's a car alarm going off, like our president this last week, that happened, and he would just stop and pause, and you just kind of have fun with it. You roll with it, whatever challenge is. But we do kind of catch people as they're coming in, and we try to make sure not only are they introduced to the president, but also some of the other members. And then we have one of our members that kind of checks them in. But I think that's really important, having visited other clubs. The feeling, especially when you come from really far away, you don't know any of these people, to really welcome your visitors is, I think that's key to Rotary. If you are having members come from afar to see your club, is to really make them feel welcome.
Thanks, Leah.
Mhm.
Any other ideas on having a good environment and welcoming people in that we haven't touched on yet? Okay, let's move on to member participation. When we talked about what we'd seen and experienced as a good club meeting, one of the themes that came through was there were a lot of our members who participated in that meeting, that they had something that they had a role during the meeting, or they were very engaged in a discussion. So let's start first with, how do you get people energized and excited about the meeting as they're gathering? How do you bring the energy level up in the room so that people feel good about being there, and they're ready to engage, and they're ready to do things, and ready to talk with each other and with the speaker? Yeah, Mike.
Hey, hello. I think one of the things is to have that duty roster, and you know, especially having different people talk about the Rotary information or the foundation. If you have anybody from the different committee chairs, like, just even if they only have something to say for 1 minute, it gets more people involved for sure.
Yeah, good. What else, in terms of as people are gathering for the meeting, let's start right at the very beginning of the meeting. Are there things that you do, like play music or sing a song or get up and dance or have somebody tell jokes or are there things that you do in your clubs or clubs that you visited that you have seen that get people excited, energized, ready to have a good meeting? Have a positive feeling before you even start talking.
Yeah, we like to do the happy bucks, and it can be sad bucks too, but it's mostly happy bucks where people get to stand up and say, you know, it was my birthday last week, or honoring somebody or something like that. And then the money goes into the club account for future parties or whatever. And that gets to, you know, people like to talk about themselves, and it gets more interest generated that way.
Mm-hmm. So that's one way to get people engaged and energized right at the beginning of the meeting, is to talk about happy buck, why they're happy. What are other ways that you've seen or ideas that you have about how you could do that in your club? None of your clubs sing a song or get up and dance at the beginning of your meetings? Some of our Hawaii clubs do. Some.
I know back when we were live and visiting clubs all the time, you know, I was always really impressed with oh God, now I've forgotten their name. Anyway, the one that meets at the Plaza Club early in the morning, right? Because they had a video up there, and as you walked in, there was a video playing about the Rotary Foundation or about something that was going on in the community, or just background music, so that yes, as you walked in, you immediately started getting engaged in the meeting. So that, you know, I was really always impressed by that. But that requires a person who is willing to put that together every week and then get in early and set it up. So, you know, that's one of the challenges right now, is getting people re-engaged to come back to in-person meetings.
Right, right. Yeah, that's another good idea. Have a video running as people are gathering. There are Rotary videos available on Rotary.org in the Brand Center. There are videos on our Rotary YouTube channel, our District 5000 YouTube channel. Or just do a YouTube search for an interesting or inspirational video. So have a video showing, play some upbeat music in the background as people are gathering. Like I say, there are some of our clubs that do sing a song at the beginning of that may not be something that turns your club members on, but for some clubs that works. That they actually have a song they stand up and sing. I know of one club that they get up and they do a little dance at the beginning of the meeting. So those are ways to bring up the energy level before you even kick off the meeting, so people are ready to engage and ready to participate. So we talked a bit about people having different roles during the meeting. And that takes some planning in advance to figure out what are the different roles that I want to have covered during this meeting, and then either get people to sign up to do that every time you have a meeting. Somebody always does that role, or maybe you rotate a month at a time or 3 months at a time and get people to sign up and say, okay, I'll do that for the next month, or I'll do that for the next 3 months. I'll give an inspirational quote at the meeting every time for the next 2 months, whatever it might be. So that's also something to think about in planning your meetings, and how do you get more member participation, more involvement, and also that kind of a side benefit is then that gives them an incentive to actually show up for the meeting because they have a designated role. So if they have another thing going on that day that they've got to make a trade-off, well, maybe the priority goes to the Rotary meeting because they know they have a designated role during that meeting. What, any other kinds of we talked about Happy Bucks. Any other kinds of interactive things that you do in your club meetings or that you've heard about or thought about doing in a club meeting? Things that are interactive that get people participating during the meeting. Any? How about games? Do you ever play games during a meeting? One of the reasons that we come to Rotary, we say, is to have fun. So is there any reason during a meeting we couldn't actually play a game with each other? Have a little quiz, for example, and give a little prize to the winner of the quiz, or play some kind of Rotary bingo game for a short period during the meeting or before or after the meeting. Some of you know in my non-Rotary life, in my work life, I do digital marketing work, and part of that is social media marketing. And one of the ways that we engage people in social media is they want to be educated, they want to be entertained, and or they want to be inspired. Well, how do we fulfill those same kinds of desires in a Rotary Club meeting? We have speakers who we'll talk a bit more about, who usually educate us in some way. We have inspiration when we have Rotary members talk about their Rotary moment, or we show a Rotary video, or we have an inspirational speaker. But how do we also entertain people during our meetings? How do we have fun? What things have you seen, heard, experienced, or what ideas do you have for having fun during a meeting?
Back to the educational games idea, I'm pretty sure it was you, Roz, that came to Kauai years ago and spoke to us, every club, about foundation giving, and had a PowerPoint with pop quiz questions, and if we got the answer right, we got a little prize or something, and it was so fun, funny, interactive, and I remembered things after that because of that, instead of just sitting there and watching a slide. So even having the speakers participate in some kind of game, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, or do a trivia game. I've done a few times a Rotary trivia game. Well, I'll ask some questions about the history of Rotary. And the prize can be something like a piece of candy or a ballpoint pen. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but it's just something to be interactive and fun during the meeting. Has anybody else tried anything like that? Not yet, it looks like. Laura, you're on mute.
I double clicked, sorry. We did a Rotary Jeopardy, which was along that same line, but a little bit different format, which got a lot of people involved.
Right, good. How about hybrid meetings, moving along? Maybe just a show of hands, how many of your clubs are doing hybrid meetings? Okay, so quite a few of us. For those hybrid meetings, what's your experience so far? What have you seen that works well, and what do you see that still needs to be improved? Anybody?
I have a comment. I think what needs to be improved is my ability to speak both to the people in person and to the camera for the hybrid, because my focus goes to the live people, and I don't think I pay enough attention to those online.
Right. Anybody else? Mike?
I think, again, it's a matter of the getting people involved, whether they're live or through Zoom, is that the what do you call it, that duty roster, and people who you know aren't going to make it, put them on the duty roster. If they can show up on Zoom, it might encourage more people to even come in through Zoom.
Yeah, good idea. Anne, I saw your hand.
What we did was our club invested in the actual technology to make the hybrid experience a little bit better. So we have, you know, of course, the speaker, the actual audio speaker is really good. So you could hear whether it's a in-person speaker or just the club interaction itself. Plus we have a rotating camera that's used by remote. And so the people that are the members or visitors on Zoom, they're able to pan across our meeting room, the physical meeting room, including the physical speaker, if we have one there, and see the interaction. You know, when we do our happy dollars, or we have a white marble drawing, or whatever activity we're doing in there, at least we're able to pan them in on there. So that kind of helps them feel like they're actually there.
Right. And do you have a big screen monitor that people can see the Zoom participants?
Yeah, so then we'll have this whole thing, that the gallery view of the people in on Zoom.
How about anybody else? Did you bring in special equipment to make your hybrid meetings more immersive, more interactive? Not yet. Okay. One of the things, for example, if you go to some of our larger clubs, they do have dedicated equipment. They have people who are designated to operate that equipment and to monitor the remote participants. But also, I think Joni hit on an important point. If you're leading the meeting, you also have to be conscious about, how am I going to engage those people who are online, not just the people who are sitting in the room here in front of me. That if they're going to feel involved and participating in the meeting, more than just being a passive observer, sometimes you have to stop and ask them a question, or ask if they have a question, or make sure that you're watching if they're raising their hand online versus in the room. Mike, did you have another idea?
If you're going to do Zoom at all, you absolutely have to have a microphone. Do not depend on the microphone array on your laptop. It is just, people will stop coming if they sound like you're 6 rooms away. Absolutely have to have a mic.
Yeah, very, very good point. Yeah. What about those of you who are doing hybrid meetings? Have you done anything to solicit feedback from the people who join online? What feedback have you gotten about their experience of being online in a hybrid meeting?
Well, I can tell you our members are pretty vocal. So if they can't hear, they'll let you know. So I mean, that is one thing. But that was when we first started with Zoom. That was a challenge, because we just were using, you know, the camera or the microphone on our laptop, and it was pretty basic. So that's when they adapted the system Anne was talking about. But yeah, I mean, just ask them, and they will tell you, because there are certain people that will kind of religiously attend via Zoom. So I think just give them a chance for some feedback, and they'll voice whatever needs to be addressed.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's move on then to meeting formats and frequency. How often does your club meet? Are you still doing the traditional model of we have a regular meeting every week, or have you experimented with doing some different meeting formats or different meeting frequencies? For example, do you do a Pauhana instead of a weekly meeting during the month, or do you do different other types of different meeting formats, or are you sticking with a traditional meeting every week? Jan.
Yeah, so Rotary Club of Poipu Beach now, if I remember right, is two meetings a month. One is on Zoom, one is in person. So I think it's like the second or fourth Wednesday or something like that. So it's like a regular schedule. And then the first Thursday of the month is a Pauhana. So we pick a different restaurant, and that's very well attended so far. And then one Saturday a month, usually that week we try to, that's empty, is a service project.
Mhm. How about other clubs? What are you doing in terms of meeting format? Yeah, Kelly. Oh, we're not hearing you, Kelly. Your mic's not switched on or your volume's not up. We'll come back to you, Kelly. Let's see if somebody else has something. Any other, everybody else does a regular meeting every week?
No, we do
Johnny?
2 meetings, and the first 2 Thursdays are meetings. The third Thursday is the board meeting, and then the fourth is open. And we do events. It may be that week, it may be another week. But I know the week that I was gone to Pets, they, without me, had a fellowship meeting at Denny's, which was well attended. And I heard really good comments about just getting together, and people attended who don't attend the regular meetings. So
Yep.
I think that was a good thing to do.
Yeah. Anybody else, different meeting formats or time schedules? Well, I'll leave this as food for thought as you're thinking about club meetings for the upcoming year. Think about, why do people join Rotary and why do people stay in Rotary? Because that's the experience that we want to be delivering, right? And our Rotary research, our Rotary market research, tells us the top 2 reasons for joining and staying are actually the same. That we join for friends and fun, and we stay for that. And we also join and stay to have an impact, particularly in our local communities. So as we're thinking about club meetings, the frequency of club meetings, our club schedules, we want to make sure, are we delivering that value that people say they want to stay in Rotary to have, or that they want to join Rotary? So you can do that, of course, by having friends and fun during your meeting time. Make sure you have time carved out for networking and socializing, maybe playing a game, whatever, having a trivia contest. Or you can do like a few of us have done and carve out a whole week and say, we're not going to have a regular meeting that week. We're just going to do socializing and fun with each other. So that's, there are alternative models, and the good news in Rotary is we have flexibility. You know, the 4th principle of our Rotary action plan is increase our ability to adapt. And of course, we were highly tested on that during the pandemic, because we had to adapt very quickly. But just because we're now coming back to more normal times doesn't mean that we need to stop looking and thinking about ways that we can adapt, that we can be flexible, that we can give people the kinds of experiences and the kinds of value that they come to Rotary for. So I'll leave that with you for food for thought. So in the last minute or so here, how do you identify and schedule speakers, and what makes a good speaker in your club? Mike.
Well, for this coming year, being that I'm the club president this coming year, I'm really trying to focus to have at least one of the speakers for each month be in a field that's related to the Rotary theme of the month, because, you know, every month has a Rotary theme. So I'm trying to really unite those 2 ideas to make our club feel more united with Rotary International itself.
Yeah, great idea, Mike. Anybody else? Do you, in your clubs, does the president usually handle the speakers, or do you have a speaker chair in your clubs?
This is Vern. We have a designated person, primarily because she works through nonprofits here in the area. She seems to have a great connection with a lot of folks that are involved in the community, so that works quite well for us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and different clubs do that different ways. Sometimes it's the president, sometimes it's a dedicated speaker chair. So you need to think about what works best for your club. Do you have somebody like that in your club who would be able to take on that role and source speakers that are educational, relevant, inspiring? Those are some of the themes that I heard through our discussion throughout the hour today. And I want to wrap this up with one last question so that you can have a little bit of a break before the next session. And this will be a quick one. How do you solicit feedback from your members about your meetings? Do you do surveys? Do you ask them? Do you call them up? What do you do to get feedback? Are the meetings, what are the members getting value from the meetings? Are the meetings what they want to experience with us?
This is Beth.
Yeah, Beth.
I think it's because we have an evening club and people are not rushing off to go to work. There's usually some feedback afterwards. Sometimes you don't want to hear them, but people gather afterwards and they talk about different things. And of course, topics about the speaker would always come up. So that's one way. We did surveys in the past, but we found out that the participation wasn't always very good. Sometimes when I was president, I would talk to the members and ask them personally, well, what do you think about this speaker? What do you think about this meeting? How do you think we could make it better? It was a one-to-one thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are running out of time, so I want to give you just a few minutes for a bio break and be back to the next session to start at 10 o'clock. You can stay in this track and Roz will be following with the next session, or you can jump tracks and go to a different Zoom. Thanks so much for your participation, your engagement, and I hope you got some good ideas and some food for thought for how to plan out your meetings for the coming year. Thanks, everybody. See you later.